Hello and welcome back, Smite fans, to the continuation of week number 2 for the Spring Split SPL, where today we're going to be watching as the rest of Europe goes ahead and contends to see who's going to be coming out on top. So we've got a lot of pretty exciting sets, to say the least, coming out for today. And as you can tell, we're going to be kicking things off with NRG versus Team Elevate. NRG has been having a bit of a rough patch to the start of this season. They're definitely looking to go ahead and make their comeback with this game against Team Elevate, but I'm sure they're not going to give it up easy. And then following that, we're going to be seeing Valence Squadron, Dignitas, Obey, all these fantastic teams just going ahead, trying to make their mark in this season of Smite. So I know that you guys are pretty excited to get things going, and I'm definitely more than excited to go ahead and introduce you guys and bring you along this journey. But for now, we're going to be going ahead and getting into things with Hindu and Toli.
Thank you so much, Taco. Me and Tully obviously standing by for the first of the day. NRG up against Elevate. Interesting one, because NRG world champions, after all. Not a great performance from them so far, though, at the start of the year. Elevate, though, same roster. Very similar.
Some teams adapt a little bit better between seasons. NRG, two-time defending world champions, not so much right now. Alpha of an 0-2 loss against the second-place team Obey, 1-1 split as well earlier on in Thursday's games. This is going to be a huge confidence booster to go against Elevate, who also has a split against, I think it was Valence Squadron. Actually, it was NRG Esports that they found that split earlier on in week number 1. So NRG needs to get off to a good momentum start. It's week number 2 out of 7.
It's true. It's very true indeed. Let's go to pick some bands then and see how this one breaks down and who's going to be first pick. On the top of the shop, it will be NRG. With the first pick here, Ratatoska straight away banned out by them.
I'm not surprised that they're taking away the Ratatosker here. Adapting Scott Pool is just so diverse. It doesn't really matter what you put him on. It's more about what you put Yammyn on. You're trying to center around NRG strategy, making sure he's in a comfortable position. We've seen him time and time again just dominate whenever he gets a small lead in the early game.
Well, Kabrakan taken out there, very interesting, because it is quite flexible into the support role, but mainly seen the solo and jungle. Solo a little bit more dominantly right now over the jungle period, but it tells me that Dimi doesn't necessarily want to play this, and neither, it's not a sort of god he adapting on either.
I think it's also a strategy where you want to pick gods that's not going to naturally have escapes against the Kabrakan ultimate, so you're trying to lock in the Sylvanus. You don't have to worry about getting locked down in that little cage.
Fafnir locked in immediately in response from Dardez there. Elevate also may look for their dual lane to go with that, and it will be the Rama, so classic Elevate dual lane that we've seen time and time before.
Jermain loves this Rama, and a nice synergy from Dardez to complement it, giving him more attack speed with Rama Steroid already giving him a lot of attack speed. That Fafnir is going to just synergize so much better with it. Zeus going to get locked in for energy. Great AoE ultimates out of those two gods.
Do we feel that's something that Elevate have overlooked here, though? Giving them Sylvanus and Zeus there. They could have taken Zeus for themselves here, but is it something they really want for their composition, I guess?
It might be a dive composition where they bait out the Zeus, bait out the Sylvanus, and look for strategies to lock them down. Maybe we'll see kind of a lockdown jungler. Thor is available. You could still lock down the Zeus behind that wall, or the Odin, which is another great way to lock down all 3 of these targets that don't have escapes. The Phantom is so necessary here for energy.
Yeah, Phantom will really come in handy to allow him to walk through the walls. Also gives 40% CCR reduction as well. And not only that, prevents you from being knocked up, which also hurts Sylvanus when you think about it.
It's a great idea to be able to pick that up, making sure that you have the defensive and offensive capabilities to turn a team fight on its head. Looking at the secondary bans already, Elevate taking away Tier from Dimi or Willish from adapting, making sure that this Odin pick, which is more than likely going to go to MoGoW. I don't really see Faeles playing it. Is not going to get interrupted whenever he initiates.
Ra locked in for Elevate as well, so a bit more sustain on the side of Elevate now to match that of Sylvanus that he's going to be bringing to the table too. Energy with the last 2 picks, looking for the solo laner and the jungler. And I do like the fact they took away a Wheelix so they couldn't have any issues with Odin here, but Serqet is available, and Serqet against Ra is fantastic.
Have to also think of a god that's going to be able to get out of that Odin cage. Serqet is going to provide that kind of tool. Bellona is going to have the Eagles rally to be able to engage into the backline as well. I wouldn't be surprised if NRG look for a very aggressive all-in strategy, maybe even having emilitoo take a page out of Panicat's book and go for the Blink Relic.
They've got a nice combination here, NRG on paper, of Serqet in the early game to just weather the storm, maybe look for a couple of early picks, get something started for NRG. But when it gets to team fights around the Gulf here, or even around the Portal Demon and the Fire Giant, that composition there that they've drafted is fantastic for that. On paper, I mean, you've got big AoE ultimates that come into play, Artemis, Boar as well to help set them up. A lot of ways to initiate for Yammyn to get a lot of damage off it.
And it's also a lot of great control in that dual lane between Artemis and Sylvanus. Obviously, Sylvanus having one of the best clears as a Guardian. Artemis, naturally, with her third ability, it's a 10-second cooldown, so she's going to be firing those volleys every so often. And looking for a very early crit build is emilitoo, obviously synergizing with her passive.
Well, we did see NRG on Thursday as well, and when they played then, we did see iRaffer pick up the Hog at the beginning of the game as well, just in case of invades coming out. But this time around, different story. I was expecting to see him do this maybe on defensive gods that don't have push power, but when we saw him do it previously, he was on the likes of Khepri, who have fantastic push, but they still wanted to play it very safe.
It's a nice idea to try to put it onto Khepri, who does have the push, because after you get the initial lane presence, then you have the opportunity to look for those invades between the red buff or the purple. But between the Sylvanus Artemis, they should have a good enough time, honestly, to be able to win this little 2v2 exchange, just simply because iRaffer does have the AoE in hands, and with that root, and as long as there's enough crits coming from emilitoo's passive, they should easily win this exchange.
If he can get some crits is the key there, but both of them wasted a lot of abilities there on poke over wave clear. So now the question comes into play of iRaffer should have better clear overall. Now Dardez in a lot of trouble early on. One more hit is enough.
That was a crit.
Forced to meditate away. The in-hand from emilitoo does connect on Dardez, but it wasn't a crit the second time, and now the potions will start to tick up.
Well, that's all they needed to do to get that initial presence, and now they're going to start rotating, but look at this rotation from BlizzardFX and Faeles. They know that it's coming around. emilitoo has nowhere to go.
Meditate came out, but it's not going to be enough to keep emilitoo alive. His beads are down too, and Jermain will get the last basic required to pick up first blood. And again, NRG at a deficit early on. This is not what we expected from the world champions in the start of the season.
Not at all. The opening strategy from a lot of dual lanes have been so dictated by this kind of early lane clear, then the invades, and a lot of teams are starting to adapt now, where they're starting rotating the mid and the jungler to be able to match that red buff, purple buff defense. Meanwhile, NRG was trying to do too much there, because they were invading on the right, they invaded on the left, and then one side was bound to fall.
Body blocks are great on iRaffer there to slow him down a little bit. Sadly, though, they did pull aggro from the purple buff, which is what iRaffer was really looking to defend there. And in the end, it looks like he should go the way of energy, unless Jermain can get lucky with the last hit.
It looks like he got it, emilitoo.
No, he didn't. Just in time, emilitoo managed to secure it for his team there as well. The main thing is, though, I'm looking towards mid and jungle as well now, and you can see that there is a small lead on the side of energy there in terms of experience gain. They've done a better job of farming so far, and now Adapting's already looking at ganking MoGoW on the right.
The oracles are being taken by Elevate. Adapting's going to play very patient here. So far, emilitoo struggling a little bit in the dual lane, but it's not a bad idea to kind of leave that behind, and maybe if you can look for something in the solo lane, but MoGoW playing very patiently, which is rather uncharacteristic of him. Normally, he's known to go in, but without adapting, being visible on the map, you have to respect that he could be literally anywhere.
And that's one of the things the solo lanes have to adapt to, of recognizing where the junglers are going to be this time around, because since Season 4, there's more things in the jungle for the jungler to go for. They're not always going to be in the same place you'd expect them to be in Season 3.
And because there's so much to take, hold that thought, though, emilitoo taking a lot of damage. The arrows are coming through from Jermain, slowing him a little bit, but then the counter from emilitoo, able to at least get a little bit more poke in return. But going back into the gank on the right-hand side, Adapting making the rotation yet again before MoGoW is hitting level 5. He's spending a lot of time trying to get Dimi in a comfortable position in this laning phase.
Yeah, I mean, Dimi here has Eagle's Rally available, already level 5 there, thanks to the pressure that NRG created in that solo lane to begin things off. But MoGoW is just so used to being camped on this Odin that he sits very far back. You can't do your normal bird bomb that you'd like to do for the full wave clear. You've got to be a bit more respectful if you aren't ahead at the time.
That's what happens when you just get your speed and blue buff invaded on. The Dimi's going to have a huge experience gap as a result. The dual lane did get some pressure as a result, so you have to make sure that you're able to play it safe on one side when your team...
Again, looking for MoGoW, Adapting looking to wrap around the ring, but the ring has slowed down Dimi's aggression a little bit there and allowed MoGoW just to walk back to safety. Ult for ult trade. Overall, as you can see, a lot of ults are currently down on the side of Elevate at the moment.
emilitoo surprisingly level 5 before Jermain is, despite taking an early spill. So that's going to be a good advantage for him as he's going to look to continue on the pressure. Can even force out the beads out of Jermain, trading out the ultimate, having a slight cooldown advantage of about 70 seconds between the boar and the purification beads.
You're highly surprised that they didn't actually manage to get level 5 before emilitoo did, especially with him dying early on in that laning phase. But speed buff being looked at here by NRG now, just positional for the time being. They do want to try and take it. They have to be respectful of the enemy of Elevate. There's 4 members grouped here.
So far, there's 3 energy, but Yammyn and iRaffer, this is why they drafted this composition, so they could look for invades like this. They want to use the Sylvanus Zeus ultimate combination and bait Elevate in a bad, awkward position, especially with the Odin cage still being on cooldown from the right-hand gank.
In the end, it's Elevate. They're going to relinquish the control of that speed buff, give it over to Energy for free. And Energy are just going to take one step further here and also take away the blue.
That's going to hurt MoGoW really heavily here, as Odin needs to get off a little bit of momentum to be able to make these rotations in the mid lane. Odin was also picked trying to lock down Yammyn, Zeus, and maybe iRaffer's Sylvanus, but if Dimi's going to be a big bully here with adapting, MoGoW's not going to be making these rotations anytime soon.
For the time being, though, it's just going to be a farm fest for both teams. Now, speed buff has spawned for Energy, and you can see 3 members grouping over there, but it's emilitoo under pressure in the duo lane right now. Hammer will connect from Dardez, going to force the beats, and now into the sky goes Jermain.
1 hit, second one is off the mark, third one off the mark as well. iRaffer's going to be able to sustain emilitoo a little bit further. That's not typical of Jermain to be able to miss those snipes. Normally, he's very comfortable with the Ram. He's been known to not only hit snipes, but also do a lot of shenanigans with his in-heals, being able to steal objectives.
Meanwhile, on the right side, MoGoW looks like he may fall down here to the poison of Serqet. Adapting, credited for the first kill for Energy, but look at it, Elevate's response straight to the Gold Fury.
They're getting the Oracles for now. They're trying to bait out iRaffer and emilitoo. They're going to find the Sylvanus and the tree. Going to get stunned out, pulled into the raw snipe, trying to use the defensive ultimate, but he's still dead.
iRaffer's already dead, and now Yammyn comes in to try and turn things around a little bit, but Elevate will be happy with a response there of finding a kill themselves to the one that Adapting got in the solo
Faeles
lane.
isn't done yet, though. He's going to continue to put pressure onto emilitoo, and this is what you really need to do with the Purification Beam still being on cooldown. The ultimate from Faeles is available. Typhoon could even confirm this if he wants to try it.
But Boar is up as well. He's looking to steal away the buff. We'll find the buff. Look at emilitoo. Beads early to avoid the Boar and clean him up as well. emilitoo did not respect the situation he was in there at all. He saw Faeles and didn't do enough to get away.
There was a ward right there where Faeles was sitting at. He just elected to go in a 1v1 against Faeles, hoping that he would be able to steal the purple while his lane was also getting pressured. So whether or not he got that purple, he was going to be in an awkward position because he would have to go around the safe way just to get back into the tower. And let's say in a perfect world, he gets his own purple, he gets back to the tower. This gives enough time for Elevate to even start up the Gold Fury.
I would like to note, though, that even though Elevate are finding the kills and getting a bit of a lead there over Energy, where Energy making some interesting mistakes, let's put it that way, the difference is the gold lead is still in Energy's favor right now, as is the experience at the moment. 2,000 experience is a huge amount at 6 minutes in.
Absolutely, and sometimes we kind of give Energy a little bit of a leeway. We're sometimes a little bit too harsh on the 2-time world defending champions. We expect a lot out of them. Their late game is still really great, and they know how to maximize their farm efficiency despite having some slight hiccups in terms of the kill count only being 1 to 3. That's not the whole point of Smite. The whole point is objectives.
And a bit of trouble here. The hammer now down from Dardez. Most of the CC done, but MoGoW joins the fray. Doesn't find the bird bomb on iRaffer, but he will find the ring onto Adapting and iRaffer too. But Yammyn's ultimate is fantastic to pick up Faeles. Dardez under pressure, forced to ult and leap away, but Dimi is here to clean this up.
Free 2 kills for Energy. Great use of that Sylvanus Zeus ultimate combo right off that. And based off of the kills and the positioning of those kills, another speed and blue buff invade BlizzardFX, though he has to be careful. Nice job of being able to clear the wave before the pressure from Energy really came.
And that's a big key here, is that Energy is stealing away the speed, stealing away blue on cooldown. That's where the experience and gold lead is starting to be created. Kills are great, but you have to capitalize on them as well.
And I like the fact that Energy are consistently having the same game plan, you know, making full use of this Sylvanus Zeus. And they're not even trying to put pressure on the Gold Fury. They're just going to allow emilitoo to sit back, farm, get the waves that he really needs to, start getting online once he does finish his crit, because obviously, despite Poison Star getting a slight nerf on Artemis, it's still not a bad idea to go for this item with the passive on her crit.
Well, it appears that whenever Elevate fall behind or make a small mistake, they like to try and pressure emilitoo in the duo lane a little bit more. Sadly, he's not there this time round, but the Gold Fury Oracles are about to spawn once more. Prime position for Elevate to look to strip these away with only iRaffer and now Yammyn trying to join to contest.
I'm surprised Elevate, despite getting all these Oracles time in and time out, they haven't been looking for Gold Furies quite yet, despite all the invades from Energy on the right-hand side.
Just teleported around the back and they don't know it. Eagles Rally did not hit onto Blizzard there, but Yammyn was left alone. He's 1 hit from death. Jermain will pick that one up. The ball from emilitoo will chase down Faeles, but not enough to pick up the kill there at all. It's 1 for 0 so far, but Adapting has arrived.
Nice meditation before the ultimate from Adapting. It's not going to be enough. The in-hand connects one more. Take the pull is good, but the dot was still going to secure the kill so far. It's a 1-for-1 kill, but Faeles, he wants another one and he gets it. The question is, can he run?
I don't think he can run from adapting right now. 1-for-1 trade, but the ring is down from MoGoW, and Dardez is trapped inside alongside iRaffer and Dimi. Dimi being the one that should be getting pressured here, but it's iRaffer who's on low health, regenning with the wisps, and now the meditate too after the ring goes down. Adapting gets a second kill. He may even look for the third right now as MoGoW. Bird bombs in place. There's no escape for the solo laner.
1-on-3, 4 deaths for Elevate, only 1 on the side of NRG. Great use of kiting mechanics, making sure they found the kills, diving the backline when they can, and then also escaping. BlizzardFX has not been on the mark with these raw snipes. Bottom of the player damage, he does not have the setup that he really needs to confirm the damage.
Very worried about getting too far forward, I guess, because against a Serqet as well, totally, it's kind of tricky to position yourself right as a raw, because the moment you are in range to land your abilities, you're also in range for a Serqet full combo.
Absolutely, which is why we see this 2-level lead for Yammyn. Great use of farming, being able to invade those right-hand side buffs, slowly but surely whittling his way on top of the charts. This is something that Yammyn is so used to. NRG usually plays around him, so this is why we see the jungler played off and waited for so long, and the Zeus was prioritized very early in that draft.
A little bit of a question mark to Blizzard's build, though, coming out here, because I didn't notice that right at the start, but he did start with Bumper's Mask and Boots, then invest into the Sands of Time instead of maybe the other way around. I don't understand why you would go for the Bumper's Boots combo, maybe a bit more mobility there. Sands of Time a little bit later on.
I'm not sure if it was Boots 2 and Bumper's Mask that he started off or not, but either way, it's not a bad idea to at least get it eventually if you have the mobility.
A bit of trouble here, going to get pulled in by Faeles, and Faeles immediately falls back. Bird Bomb comes out from MoGoW, instantly knocked up by iRaffer in response though, and MoGoW does not have the support of his team. The damage was good, but he was alone, and the rest of his team didn't know what was going on.
There's too much of a disconnect from Elevate. Yet again, that's the 4th invade on the right-hand side, and they haven't been able to take advantage of it with Gold Fury just being wide open. There's more burst damage on the side of Elevate to be able to secure that objective between the Raw ultimate as well as the Typhoon coming out of Faeles.
Bit of an awkward position for Elevate now as there's pressure in the mid lane for him now, so NRG can rotate round to the Gold Fury once more. Look to start this one up with the man advantage of MoGoW. Only just respawning. He has teleport available, but remember, the ring is down.
This is just a bait. There's 2 ultimates down on the side of NRG. Elevate could go in the blink from adapting, trying to get onto BlizzardFX. He's still going to commit though.
He's going to commit, but not find the target he was really after. Jermain, meanwhile, did ult early on there to try and put some pressure onto them doing the Gold Fury, but NRG still trying to make this happen.
They're going to reset for a little bit. They just got the Oracles. They're content with it. They're going to walk away. They forced the Purification Beads out of BlizzardFX, and that's exactly what Adapting wanted. That's going to be the next target for him.
But that was a big win, actually, for Elevate. They didn't lose anybody around the Gold Fury. They didn't lose the Gold Fury either. But at the same time, MoGoW was in the solo lane. He'd pushed a whole wave into the tower and also stole away the blue buff.
He's level 10, trying to find a way to get back into this game. Dimi's level 12, having his second relic, going for the Phantom emilitoo. A little bit of trouble on the left-hand side.
And he's going to get knocked up as well by the ultimate Faeles. One more hit will be enough, and the quick dash back on the rotation is iRaffer, but he's going to be alone here against 4 members now. As you can see, Elevate in the jungle, slowly motioning over to this left-hand side.
Finally, Elevate are finding some plays on the left, but they're not going to continue the pressure. He's left alone, the Sylvanus, instead electing to take the win and reset. Oh, Yammyn, he's in a little bit of trouble. His Vegas is up, though.
Dardez, and now pulled in by Faeles as well. Damage is great. Damage is amazing. Faeles picks up a kill, but Adapting's here to turn it around.
Great 1-for-1 trading mid for the jungler. Adapting going to take some damage in return. They snipe from BlizzardFX, not on the mark. Great disengage coming out of Adapting, but yet again, Elevate still a little bit of trouble, though, as MoGoW, nice shield to prevent the Scourge damage, but Eagles rally, keeping MoGoW in place. Another kill for Dimi, getting solo killed.
Tier 1 tower as well, just to add to the coffers of energy here early on. Very fast-paced game here, Tony. A lot of kills, 17 in 30 minutes. It's the first time this year we've really seen a game that's gone this crazy in terms of aggression.
I mean, this is what happens when you just invade left, right, and center, honestly. And normally there's a lot of kills whenever you have a Nike in the game trying to get that passive stack out of her. If NRG had a Nike right now, they would have that 1 stack from having 10 kills. But Nike kind of fell out of contention, not really having the same sort of results as the other Warrior frontlines. But this is the same kind of style, just non-stop fighting action, just do it.
But look at the difference between Faeles and Adapting right now. Both of them have 5 kills apiece. The difference is, though, Faeles hasn't managed to get much farm. Yeah, he's died a few more times, but he's focused so much on making these ganks happen that he's actually letting up a lot of the experience that he could be having, whereas Adapting is counter-initiating, and finding kills as well as the farm.
It's so hard finding that balance as a jungler because obviously you want to set your team up in the best possible position, especially as a Susano who can easily pull people out of the tower that can set up your raw mid, especially with a Typhoon knockup. But at the same time, with all those invades on the right-hand side, that's been a theme from NRG this whole entire game, and that's why we see this 3-level disparity between Faeles and adapting.
Well, still no Gold Fury taken by either team just yet, but the secondary relics are now coming into play. NRG have them available for everybody on the team now except for iRaffer. Meanwhile, Elevate still waiting on a couple of players there.
We see Dardez still level 9. He's working on more defense at this point, having the Gauntlet of Thebes finished, trying to work on a little bit more defense. So he's going to have the aura from both magical and physical protection. Not going to have the same kind of HP5 or MP5 that a Sovereignty or Hardwood have.
Faeles versus Adapted, and Faeles is losing this trade pretty heavily, forced to jump away, but he walks right towards Yammyn, gets away for a second, but it's not going to be long enough. Emilitoo's in hands will bring him down. Meanwhile, Dimi on the left has teleported in, going to force Jermain back. This is a hard execution of the Gold Fury here by the looks of it from NRG now.
Everyone from Elevate is just so scattered. MoGoW is even on the right-hand side. His teleport's available to make this rotation if he wants to. iRaffer and Dimi going to find a little bit of zoning as Gold Fury is still up. Not really going to elect to go for that quite yet. Electing to go for the left-hand side wave first. They poked out the Ram, but they're not going to go for this later game objective quite yet.
Surprised they didn't go for the Gold Fury there. Maybe a little bit too worried about Raw and the snipe that could come into play and turn that one around. It did allow MoGoW once again to get a bit more free farm in this solo lane, catch up to hit level 12 now for his secondary relic and get that all-important blink online for the Odin to get some extra initiation for them.
This is also a nice tactical, slow and steady game out of NRG. They don't want to give anything back in return. NRG wants to make sure that they continue the pressure, get the items because they have this gold lead and experience it without even getting the Gold Fury. So why even try to let Elevate come back into the game like you mentioned before with BlizzardFX Ultimate? That's an easy opportunity for them to steal it and get back into the game. And looking at Dimi's build here, he almost has Frostbound Hammer finished, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's when NRG really starts trying to get the Gold Fury.
Yeah, looking for power spikes and items is definitely normally the way the pro players go to look, at least at the top end as well, to find big wins for themselves. That Frostbound will allow him to stick to Rama all day long. Bellona, very good at 1v1 in hunters, keeping them entertained is the best way of looking at it. Emilitoo being entertained right now by the dual lane, but he's got support of Adapting, and Jermain took a lot more damage than they expected. Out of position, controlled, and Adapting picks up the kill with Emil.
The positioning from Adapting has just been on point this whole entire game, transitioning from invades in the early game to now to a counter bait in the later stages. We saw the Adapting, he's not done yet though. He finds one, he's going to find a little bit of poke onto Faeles, but like I was mentioning before, it seemed that Jermain felt very confident that it was only going to be Emilitoo there, but Adapting had other intentions.
Gold Fury already stripped to half very, very quickly. Blizzard was looking at a rotation to find a snipe here, but he's already out of the way. Dimi's going to immediately Eagles rally. Blizzard don't apply pressure with that Frostbound Hammer just to keep him in combat, slow him down, and he's whittling away at the health bar, forcing Dardez to help him out.
iRaffer not on the route mark. He wasn't going to be able to find the pull afterwards. This is going to allow NRG to maybe continue more pressure. MoGoW was successfully able to get a tier 1 tower in that right-hand side, which is what he has to do to get back into this game. He did have a 2-level disadvantage earlier on. Now he cut it down to 1, getting 500 gold at least back in his team's pocket.
But NRG, they get the speed buff as well as the Gold Fury. The tier 1 tower whittled down to very low health right now, as now Elevate look to group as 5 as well to defend their mid lane.
Adapting on the right side, mid Harpies, he wants to jump in. His ultimate is available, and that's what you really want to do against BlizzardFX, trying to shut down his sustain. MoGoW spots Adapting around the right. iRaffer's trying to position himself aggressively for a good root pull ultimate combination, but nobody from Elevate really going to give him that opportunity for free.
Well, we do see a Poison Star online for Emilitoo here on the Artemis. Poison Star, not the most dominant one against Wind Demon, for example, in terms of that Shuriken tree, but when you are Artemis and you get free crit in your build as well, that does make an impact in these team fights. If you can get one, just a singular crit, that person's damage is reduced by 20%.
It's a good defensive build if you're going to be trapped inside that Odin cage, but now Emilitoo and Yammyn going to start up the Portal Demon. They've baited out the snipes out of Jermain. Great little advantage in this next team fight for NRG. If they wanted to go now, they could take advantage with Jermain's ultimate on cooldown.
Just keeping Elevate at bay, allowing Yammyn and emilitoo to slowly whittle down the Portal Demon and kill the Portal Demon as well. At the same time, Dimi and Adapting now go aggressive, pick up Blizzard already. Pulled into danger is Dardez, low on mana as well. Bird Bomb comes out, as does the ring from MoGoW, but it's a defensive one more than anything else. They still can't find a kill.
They want to find Jermain. His ultimate's on cooldown, the Frostbound and the Shield Bash, finding more enhanced, but Dimi gonna get interrupted by Dardez. MoGoW diving in the backline. Dimi went too deep. He's gonna fall, but MoGoW getting traded out.
That was a lot of good work from MoGoW there to make sure they could pick up Dimi, but emilitoo just walks around the corner, two in the back of Jermain's head, and he falls down too, and it's only Dardez and Faeles left standing, and there's not much they can really do about NRG being in their jungle right now, especially as Yammyn has now come back from base thanks to the help of the portal.
Great use of that objective. NRG taking the objective, winning the team fight 1 for 3. BlizzardFX just now reviving. They're going to go for the Oracles to top this one off, and already about a 6,000 gold lead at the 19-minute mark. It was a relatively slow and quiet game for NRG in terms of the gold lead that they had. They didn't really have one up until the 10-minute mark when they slowly built it beyond the 1 to 2,000 mark. But now with that gold here, the Portal Demon and more of these later stages deaths from Elevate, the respawn timers are going to be longer, and that's going to give NRG a bigger gap to just continue the lead.
Credit where it's due this game as well. Adapting's had a fantastic performance on the Serqet since minute 1 of this game. Good rotations, fantastic farming, 6-0 and 8 scoreline. Pretty sure he's going to be near the top of the damage charts, even though I know he's got on a team with Yammyn, who's on that Zeus, but there you can see it. He's way up there. And Dimi as well. His rotations with the teleport have been very early, a lot earlier than we've seen out of Dimi in the past.
And that's what you need to do. You got to cater to Dimi at this point, because it seems like he kind of struggled a little bit in the earlier week number 1 against Obey and Valence Squadron. He wasn't really the same Dimi that we're normally used to seeing, so the fact that Adapting kind of sat in the solo lane allowed for these blue buff, speed buff invades also helps not only Adapting, but Dimi. Adapting almost having a perfect score, being a part of 14 out of the 15 kills from NRG.
Faeles hanging out on this left-hand side for quite a considerable amount of time, now being joined by Dardez as 3 members look to pressure emilitoo in this dual lane. But Adapting smells it, rotates it himself, finds emilitoo and Dardez, and the trade begins.
But it's going to be a 3-on-1. Adapting getting pulled back in. He's going to fall. The ultimate coming out of emilitoo is going to force out Jermain. Snipes as well, hits one. He's going to also use the vision just to spot out Yammyn.
Great work from Jermain to spot Yammyn, and now they try and collapse onto him, but Raffa recognizes the issue, turns it around, and it's Dardez who's the one in trouble, forced to leap away. Jermain was out of position around the back, trying to cut off Yammyn, and now he's caught out. 2 crits in a row from emilitoo spells demise for Jermain. Great knock-up from the ultimate from Faeles to get to the back line and help Blizzard secure 1 kill on emilitoo. This is a pretty good fight for Elevate.
There's 3 dead on the side of NRG. The slow coming from BlizzardFX. Raffa's going north. Yammyn's going south. All of Elevate wants to find the Zeus player. The beam is not on the mark. Slow and the jump going to find the Zeus, the Thunder God, but Raffa walking away here. Elevate 2 for 4. Now they're going to be able to at least grab a tier 1 tower on the left. Golf here respawning in 15 seconds.
Very interesting engage from both 2 teams there. Good individual plays. Adapting comes to a rotation to support emilitoo. Then he ends up getting bursted down, and immediately they turn their attention towards Yammyn, who gets great peel from Raffa in the grand scheme of things. That sets up a crazy fight with MoGoW and Dimi joining him with the teleports.
NRG could have potentially turned that fight around, but Dimi didn't have the opportunity to use the Phantom during the ultimate of MoGoW, which really hindered emilitoo and Yammyn to be able to not take so much damage earlier on in that team fight. They could have still maybe done something with the sustain that they had from Raffa in a 4-on-5. The ultimate, though, from BlizzardFX that time in that engagement was on the mark.
And the one thing about Phantom as well is very tricky of who to put it on in terms of a relic, because to be fair, Dimi in the front line, it's going to be useful in the laning phase, but he's going to be on the front line away from where Odin's going to be.
Nice little pull onto MoGoW, doing a little bit of poke. Dimi's going to continue to slow out MoGoW with that Frostbound, baiting out the jump even further. We're seeing Elevate trying to get those Oracles. They're not going to go for the gold here quite yet. It is a 5-on-5. They don't want to take anything too risky at this point where you could give up too much here. There's still a lot of control on the side of NRG.
Definitely a nice momentum boost for Elevate, though, as they do pull the Gold Fury here. It's just Jermain doing it. Doesn't really have any lifesteal in this build other than the Death's Toll, so he may have to hand it off sooner rather than later. Although he's not doing too bad on his own, that Golf is going to be free.
That's a free
Jermain
goal.
is going to steal that one away on his own, even though Blizzard will probably take credit for the last hit.
Last hit, BlizzardFX. Either way, nice little comeback for Elevate now. They were down about 5,000 gold earlier on, cutting that deficit to about 3,000, heading into the 23-minute mark. That's insignificant, but you're more looking at the experience here from NRG. They still have a great lead from Adapting. He's almost level 20, and once that Serqet ultimate gets maxed out, that's going to be so much easier to pick off these squishies between BlizzardFX and Jermain.
I will say Elevate look a hell of a lot better this year than last year as we watch Adapting look to pressure Faeles here. Got to use the ultimate, force the beads out of Faeles there in response. And so an ult and a blink in trade for a beads for the time being. The snipe is going to secure that buff. No, it's not to secure that buff, but emilitoo takes a 2v1 against Jermain and Dardez barely gets out.
The rotation coming from iRaffer. He doesn't have blink, so he gets telegraphed, spotted out. He did walk over a ward on the north-hand side, but Jermain feeling very confident that Raffer is alone. Going to take the fight. The stun from Dardez, more slows from Jermain. The root off the mark. Everyone else from Elevate trying to find this kill. NRG nowhere here to really respond and save Raffer.
Well, they did get the Portal Demon on the right, though, Tony, so this kind of works out okay for them. They'd already lost emilitoo. They trade Portal Demon for Raffer's life, but they may lose a couple of towers down this left-hand side now as there's a full minion wave coming with Elevate towards this tier 1, and the tier 2 is fast approaching.
Could have potentially even looked for the Fire Giant, honestly, at this point. Serqet's damage sitting at level 19. Having Deathbringer available with Heartseeker would absolutely melt this objective. Normally, NRG are really good about their timing windows and what they can or can't get away with. Taking a very safe approach is NRG.
Look what Dimi did there as well. He knew the tower was down. He couldn't defend against a whole army of Elevate on that tier 2 tower. But what he could do is make sure they didn't continue trying to push on for a Phoenix while the rest of his team, they're at the Fire Giant.
So as I stated before, NRG, they know their timing windows. They saw Dimi was the satellite scout to see whether or not Elevate would continue pressuring past the tier 2 tower. That's what NRG were afraid of. The downtime of getting the Fire Giant without emilitoo would take a little bit too long, and that might give Elevate the opportunity to not only get the tier 2 tower, but also the Phoenix. So making sure Dimi was still there, spotted everybody out, made the correct call for the rest of NRG to grab that Fire Giant objective, as well as stop in the back from Dardez.
Well, right now, as well, you can see in the inventories of the players, consumables do come into play at this stage as rituals do come online. And we can see Frenzied Ritual is alive and well now for Raffer for the next engagement. He doesn't have a Fire Giant buff as his team didn't wait an additional second, which I was surprised at. But he does have the potential to boost all the damage of his team.
But look at this, Elevate. They're feeling very confident. They see everybody from NRG. They're just going to grab this tier 2 tower. They're not done yet. They're going to go for a Phoenix here.
Well then. And the call from NRG is, do we defend or do we push? And the call is defend by the looks of it. And as soon as Elevate recognize all those backs coming out, they will retreat. This just wastes NRG's time using the Fire Giant.
Yeah, but NRG, they're going to look to collapse and pinch. Raffer's coming from the north side. They want to try to pinch it. Adapting, getting caught out a little bit. Raffer wrapping around underneath. He needs to find a clutch root pull here.
If he can find it on one target, he would love Blizzard if he could find him. Raffer's still giving chase. Has Talaria boots as well for the extra mobility. MoGoW's the best target, but Dardez going to slow both him and Dimi down as well. And they're going to look at Dardez.
Trying to find at least one kill with their Fire Giant. Going to force out the jump. Not going to even try to use the ultimate. So that's a great relic force. Not being able to have that in the next team fight is definitely going to hurt Elevate, especially with the Frenzied Ritual on the Sylvanus.
Tier 2 tower in the mid will fall. The fight is looking to be ensued on by NRG here, but Elevate having none of it for the time being. They're just looking to hold at the Phoenix now, knowing that realistically they've got a tier 2 in left, tier 2 in right, and that's the best that NRG could hope for, unless they're going to force a fight at the Phoenix.
The chain lightning from the Zeus doing a lot of damage, forcing out the Aegis from Jermain. emilitoo still doing a lot, poking out MoGoW in the process. Dimi still sticking on the Phoenix, the double knock up onto 2. MoGoW in a lot of trouble, able to jump away, but being chased down by Adapting.
And the boar is really making good work from emilitoo as well. Cast early on there. Dardez forced to ult and disengage. Jermain alive, but back in the fountain now. Phoenix in mid falls, and NRG make good worth of their Fire Giant buff.
This is the start towards the end for NRG to close out the first game. They need to get this win. Like we mentioned before, they only found 1 win so far in the SPL out of 4 games. And this is a team that's very emotional, and they could easily utilize more and more wins off of momentum. We haven't seen them struggle this hard ever out of NRG in the beginning of an SPL split.
Well, only Yammyn has his ultimate up here, but NRG, without minions, want to try and backdoor this Phoenix for the time being, whittling it away slowly, forcing Dardez to initiate with no ultimate as well. The Phoenix is still about half health, but there's the Yammyn ult.
No Aegis available for BlizzardFX. He's going to take a spill. Jermain going back to the fountain. Second Phoenix for NRG on the right. They still have about a 6,000 goalie. Going to disengage here. Their Fire Giant is still available for 50 seconds, but they can't really do much more. They have to go all the way to the left-hand side, which is going to take quite a whiles away. And once that Gold Fury gets taken with those 2 towers, that 6,000 goal lead is going to start nearing the 5-digit mark.
Elevate have really showed in this set that they can box and fight against NRG. The one thing they haven't shown us, though, is that they can farm farm and control the map as well in the early stages of the game. This experience lead has been from minute one. You can see the slide up throughout the game. The gold stayed even just thanks to first blood at the beginning, but there's been nothing that Elevate have done to show that they can get this experience and can stay even. They're great at fighting though. They've just not got the whole package.
Fighting is one aspect in the game of Smite, but more importantly, like you mentioned, it's all about the farming. It's all about the push and the pull. NRG pushed Elevate and around the speed and the blue buff, but Elevate never pulled back towards the red and the purple on the side of NRG. They did find an early kill onto emilitoo, but they never really overextended that to allow Jermain to really carry the game that we're normally used to seeing out of Elevate.
Well, for those Artemis players out there and Rama players, you can see the two builds over in Europe right now between Jermain and emilitoo, two of the best hunters in Europe for sure at the moment. Both with crit in there, a bit of malice coming on from emilitoo as well, which is something we've not seen too often just lately, whereas Jermain has gone for the Poison Star Wind Demon a little bit later than we've seen previously just because of the changes to the power curve of those items.
It still makes sense for Jermain to go crit with his attack speed steroid along being amplified by Dardez. It's a little bit of a different way of looking at things, where if you look at the side of emilitoo, he has a higher crit percentage chance, whereas Jermain is going to have a higher attack speed. Now, both Artemis and the Rama have the attack speed steroid in their kit, but it's all about what Dardez is going to be able to bring to the table.
Well, it's ritual time now as more and more start coming in. We've got the combat blinks coming in, the flickering ritual as it's now known, but it is combat blink for two of the members of NRG, and it's on their carries too to get them out of awkward positions, as well as both supports on each team have got the frenzied ritual now as well for the extra damage boost for their teams. But Elevate will not be contesting this fire giant right now. They've got a Phoenix in mid lane due to spawn soon, and a whole left-hand lane with towers still standing. NRG may not even look for that left one. They may just look to try and force this an end now.
If they can find a pick or two, then I wouldn't be surprised if they try to end. But knowing NRG and the way they've been playing the beginning of this game, it's all about the slow and steady pace for them. So I'm not surprised that they're neglecting going down mid or the right, instead making sure they make the Titan of Elevate as vulnerable as possible, stripping more protections, more health, and making sure that the Titan does less damage by stripping these towers first.
And each of those towers have worth that exactly. They just remove protections and health for the fire giant. Both tier 2 and tier 1 will fall, and now it's up to NRG and to assault the final Phoenix in the left, as middle one is due to spawn 2. Elevate have to keep an eye on 2 Phoenixes at the same time here.
Left-hand side, NRG with the Fire Giant buff, red buff onto Yammyn. They do have 2 combat blinks to be able to escape MoGoW's ultimate, which is going to be so crucial for Elevate to figure out a way for this last stand. MoGoW, he's wrapping around underneath.
iRaffer was looking for a pull there, but Jermain ate so much free damage there just from the chain lightning that came out from Yammyn. He's already forced back, which means this Phoenix should fall soon, but Adapting goes in deep, looks for pressure onto Faeles and Blizzard, which is going to force them back, but it's enough of a window for them to get the Phoenix they were after.
That's all they really wanted. They still have Fire Giant for another 2.5 minutes. With mid Phoenix respawning, NRG are shifting their attention towards that mid lane. Dimi leading the charge in the front, Yammyn in the back. Here comes MoGoW.
MoGoW, great response from Rafa though, as the frenzied rituals are popped on both teams. The Phoenix in mid stands for now, but NRG are just happy to sit back right now. They've not invested much in this engagement so far. The Phoenix is slowly going down as Dimi goes in onto Jermain, forcing him out again. emilitoo focusing the Phoenix, it's making it all 3 down once more.
Dardez has nowhere to go. First victim from Elevate. All 3 Phoenixes are down. Right's about to respawn here, but NRG, they're still playing it so safe, just taking 1 shot. Titan of Elevate is going to fall. NRG are going to find their 2nd win so far of the SPL Spring Split.
But a much better performance from NRG in that set overall, at least in game 1 against Elevate there. Elevate got off to a very good start though. They had a great performance to begin. Got an early kill on emilitoo, and that could have been a real sign for the Jewel and the Bruise Brothers to really start to run things there. But it eventually got shut down by Adapting.
They shut down emilitoo to begin with, but they let Adapting go off to a roll, shutting down MoGoW, sitting in Dimi's lane for quite a while, making sure that Odin would have no performance in the mid to late game.
Well, let's